In this video, we're going to be determining the turning point of the parabola by completing the square. So the question will be specific to say, determine the turning point of the parabola by completing the square. This is mainly for grade 11s. In grade 12, they will never tell you which method to use, but it is still important to know how to complete the square because you still use it in analytical geometry of circles. So if you're in grade 11 and also in grade 12, this is a video for you. Okay, let's start. So even if they said by completing the square, ladies and gents, before I start, I always just use negative b over 2a just to check my solution at the end. So I already know what my solution should be before I even do it. So remember, before you start, you need to rearrange your function in form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So this part must come to the front, which is because it's the one with x. So it's minus 5x squared, and then bx is this one, which is minus 10x, and then you have plus 2 there. Do you see? This is a positive 2. Awesome. So it's in ax squared plus bx plus c, right? So let me just write that at the bottom. You need ax squared plus bx plus c. So you can easily see that your a is negative 5. So this is your a, right? Then you can see that your b is what? It's basically negative 10. That's your b. Then you can see that your, oh, here my c, you can see that your c is positive 2. Do you see? Perfect. So you always need it to be in this form first before you can start. So if they give you in any other form and they say by completing the square, you need to open it up to ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, I know that if I were not to complete the square, the turning point, remember, the axis of symmetry, we said is given by negative b over 2a, right? If you forgot, axis of symmetry is the x value in the turning point, which is negative, and then my b is negative 10 all over 2, and then my a is negative 5, right? At the top, I have positive 10, at the bottom, I have negative 10. So my last number will be negative 1, right? Sure. So I know that, okay, this is going to be opposite of p, right? So I'm going to be looking at this, which is the x in the turning point. Now, let's do this. I'm going to put it there and there to see what y will be, right? So y will be, okay, let's use this one. So it's minus 5. Then you have negative 1 squared minus 10. You have negative 1 and then plus 2. So I just substituted negative 1 here and there. And then this becomes, let's see. So this is negative 5. And then here I'm going to have positive 10. Then plus 2, which is 12 minus 5, which is 7. So my turning point must be negative 1 and 7. Okay, sharp. So now we're going to complete the square. You're going to complete the square. Sharp. So let's do this. G of x, I'm starting now. G of x equals to, so guys, you need to isolate the x squared. You need to isolate the x squared. So which means you need to divide everything by negative 5, basically. But because this side is not 0, I'm going to put negative 5. You put it outside and then you do this. Here, if you divide by negative 5, you're left with x squared, of which is what you need, right? And you also divide here, only here. You divide everything if you have 0 this side, but for functions, you just divide here and there. So this will be negative 10 divided by negative 5. It's positive 2x. Ne? And then you close. And then you have that plus 2 there. That one you don't do anything. Ne? Sharp. And then now, this is what we're going to have. This is what we. So if you fall back, you're going to still have what you had there. You didn't change anything, basically. Right? But you always need to have this as positive x squared. Like this. Okay. Now, ladies and gents, you take your b, which is this, right? Okay, let me just rewrite everything. So I have minus 5. And then I have x squared plus 2x. Ne? And then you're going to do this. You take your b, you divide it by 2, and then you square. Ne? So let's take our b. So we have a b there. You divide by 2. You take your b, you divide it by 2, and then you square this the thing. And then you do the same. You square. Then that plus 2 is outside. Ne? Here, you always put a plus, then a minus. Never put a minus, then a plus. It's always a plus, then a minus. So, ladies and gents, I'm sure you are realizing that here is like I added a 0. So I didn't change the meaning of this equation. Okay. So I now have negative 5. Then this will be x squared, right? Plus 2x. This will give you 1 if you simplify it. And then minus 1 plus 2. Ne? And then this part, ladies and gents, right? This part, the first 3, will always give you a perfect square trinomial. Ne? So let's see. You have negative 5 outside. Then here you just do this. When you complete the square, this part will always give you this bracket. Ne? So this, you square root this. Square root of x squared is x, right? You square root the last one. Square root of 1 is 1. You take the sign on b, so it's plus there, like that. Then you have minus 1. Then you have plus 2. Right. Then you remember here there's an invisible 1. Now you need to foil in the 5 back. So there, and you're also going to foil it on there, right? Which gives you minus 5x plus 1 squared plus 5, and then plus that 2 which was outside. And this part here will give us positive 7. And then remember, if you watch the first video on the parabola, the turning point, the inside is always opposite, which is negative 1, and then the outside is 7, which stays the same. And this is the same as that. Then you are confident that you completed your square properly. Okay. And we're going to do a second example, ladies and gentlemen, just for practice. But I advise you to pause the video and try to do it on your own so that you see how much you understand. Okay, perfect. So we're going to do number 2 now. Okay, so number 2. Still, we have to write get the turning point by completing the square. Ne? So we have h of x equals to minus x squared plus 1 minus 4x. Okay. Remember, the first thing is to arrange in ax squared plus bx plus c, right, in the basic form. And then I'm going to check my axis of symmetry, negative b, which is negative 4 over 2a, which is negative 1. Remember here there's an invincible 1, right? And then this is 4 divided by negative 2. So the answer is negative 2, right? And then I'm going to substitute it here just to see what will be my y, right? So my y will be negative 2 squared. Remember here it's negative 1, then minus 4, -2, then +1. Let's see. This here will be 4, but there's a negative outside, +8, +1. So it's going to be 9 minus 4, which is 5. Then TP is going to be -2 and 5. Right. Now you go and you complete your square. Remember, when you complete the square, you need to isolate the x squared. So you're going to divide this part and that part by -1. But because it's on functions, so you just keep that number you divide by outside. But if you are solving for x, remember this part will be 0. So you divide everything, and then this part will disappear. But now because we are doing function, it's not 0 here, you still keep it there. So -1 divided by -1, it's 1. So you're going to have 1x squared. -4 divided by -1, it's +4x. And then you close the bracket, and then you say +1. And then you say, remember, you're going to rewrite everything. 4x, and then you put 2 brackets in, right, with squares. And then you close, and then you put your +1 there. And then remember, I said the sign is always a plus first, then a minus, right? Then the inside, you take your b, you divide by 2. So my b is 4, you divide by 2. 4, you divide by 2, right? And then you have -1, and then you have x squared plus 4x. This results here, if you simplify, you'll get 4. That one will be -4. So you didn't change anything. It's like you added a 0, right? And then you have +1. And then this becomes -1. Remember, I said the first 3 will give you a perfect square trinomial, right? So you just do this. Square root of x will be x. Square root of 4 is 2, right? And then you take the sign of b, which is plus. Then you have -4 there. Then you have +1, right? Then you multiply in the -1. So remember here, there's an invisible one. So you're going to multiply there and there, right? Which becomes -1 in bracket x plus 2 squared, then +4, then +1. This part here will give you 5. Then you can see that your TP is going to be, remember the inside, you do the opposite. So it's -2, coordinate 5. And you're confident that you did it properly. Because both, if you use the formula and completing the square, you get it correct. So I want to show you a shortcut. If they don't say which method, you can use this. Sometimes they'll ask you to they'll just say, write this function in this form. In this form. Okay, this is what you do. You know that the turning point is this. Turning point form, it's ax plus p. The question will be like, write it in this form, but they won't say which method. If they don't say which method, you don't need to do this long method. But if they say, write it in this form by completing the square, then you have to write all this. But if they don't, this is what you're going to do. Your a is -1. So you replace the a with -1. And then you need to remember, your turning point is here, right? You do this method, basically. So if here is -2, it means inside must be +2. Remember, they are opposites. Then squared, this one is always the same. Then +5. Then that's your turning point form there. Ladies and gents, I'll see you in the next video. Please don't forget to share and subscribe. And also, to keep on watching this content so that you can become a powerful maths fanatic. Tango, aluta continua.